Good morning and welcome to today's The 50-50 Show. My name is Omar, this is Omair, and we're going to be breaking down some of last night's best NBA games and also previewing some of today's most interesting ones. First, we're going to get started with the battle for New York. The New York Knicks versus the Brooklyn Nets. The New York Knicks narrowly won 99-95. Cam Johnson misses a game-winning three-pointer with about 12 seconds to go, and the New York Knicks extend their winning streak to 9 games. But the question I have for you, Omair, is about D'Lo. D'Angelo Russell recently was traded from the Lakers back to the Brooklyn Nets, who he's played for before, and he has a 23-10 game with a team high, I want to say +5 in a loss. So clearly stands out as one of the best Brooklyn players despite them not being able to win. And my question for you is pretty simple, but feel free to take it where you want. But was it a mistake for the Lakers to trade D'Lo to the Nets?
That's a good question, and that's been on my mind, watching the game last night, and specifically watching the Lakers in AR-15, because if you look, the Lakers played the Wizards last night. AR did not have a good game. It was poor shooting, very few points, few playmaking. It wasn't great. On the other hand, D'Lo here today, last night, 23 points, 10 assists. I want to say 2 to 3 turnovers, a very efficient, very clean playmaking game. So for me, yes, I think the Lakers did make a mistake. I agree that they need to trade one of them because you cannot have two defensive liability guards in a roster with a 40-year-old LeBron James on it. But I think they should have kept D'Lo and not AR. This is why. D'Lo, if you do want to look at the stats of last night where D'Lo clearly outplayed AR, let's look at the player evaluation. D'Lo is clearly a better passer. He's a guy who can get you around 7 to 8 assists night in and night out. AR-15 is not at that level of playmaking. He's more of a scorer. Run off-ball action for him, pick and roll, he's looking to score. Flop, obviously we know about AR-15, his flopping tendencies. D'Lo can do more than that. He can hit those passes, hit the rolling big man, lob, and then use his passing threat to be a scoring threat. If you look last year, there was a game where LeBron and AD were out. D'Lo, he was the man, and he carried that team to a close win. He had, I think, a 40-piece, I want to say. He's capable of doing something like that. AR, not so much because his game lacks versatility. He didn't have that passing to play around. D'Lo does. We look at shooting, I would say there's similar caliber of shooters. D'Lo's pretty good, AR's pretty good. And then driving, I give it to D'Lo because he had that floater game. He had the hook shot. And then also, we're drawing free throws. I call AR-15 a flopper, but actually, you look at it, they're both great at drawing contact and getting the whistle. Just this game, D'Lo has 7 free throws and he didn't miss a single one, 7 of 7. So I know some people don't like people who can draw contact and get fouls, but AR-15 definitely does it, and I think D'Lo can do it just as well. So that's my reasoning. I think a guard had to be traded, but I don't see why you would keep AR-15 when D'Lo is his offensive baggage is better. Then you also look at the age. AR-15 is younger. D'Lo has shown more experience. I understand he's had some moments in the playoffs where he didn't do it as well as people wanted, but I still think he's a better player than AR. We'll see. If Lakers will probably make it to the playoffs. We'll see what AR does. He's also a streaky guy himself. He played really well 2 years ago when the Lakers were the last time they were a serious playoff contender. He did really well against the Grizzlies, pretty good against the Warriors, and then he kind of disappeared against the Nuggets. I know D'Lo did the same thing, but if you want to look at playoffs and clutch factor, neither one really has it like that. But at least D'Lo's older, I can trust him a little more with the ball in late game situations, under pressure, new defenses. As in the playoffs, they can change up their schema. I trust D'Lo, a veteran point guard, to handle that better than someone like AR-15.
Yeah, I disagree with a lot of that. I think one is that you referenced some games where LeBron and AD weren't playing, and you talked about this game. First of all, he won 6 of 17 this game. Not exactly very efficient. The free throws are what really helped get him into that efficient scoring situation, but AR does that usually as well. And I think for me, D'Lo being older means he's more resistant to change. I think he wasn't listening to the new regime under JJ Redick. You got to play defense. You got to buy in. AR is more willing to do that. I think D'Lo is a higher usage player where he looks better the more he holds the ball, but then your team is capped by him. Like on the Lakers, I want LeBron to have the ball in a lot of those crunch situations. and to be involved because LeBron is obviously a better player than D'Lo. Similarly with AD. But with D'Lo, it's like your team is capped at D'Lo, and D'Lo's not bad. So he could even be, a point guard on some sort of 8th, 7th seed team. Think Pistons, think Hawks. Like I think he could be perfectly fine on the Hawks, for example. But for a team like the Lakers where you have LeBron and you need to be able to buy into defense, I think AR was just better. He was younger, cheaper. The Brooklyn Nets were happy to give up quite a bit for D'Lo. Maybe Austin Reeves wasn't commanding the same from Brooklyn, right? Because who knows how many trade partners they really had. So I don't think it's at all a mistake to get rid of D'Lo because I like Austin Reeves' ability to get free throws more. I think Austin Reeves is a perfectly equal or capable passer. He's been getting 7-8 assists ever since D'Lo left. Then JJ's been changing it up a little bit. So it's been, again, the passes have been going down a little bit. Balls coming out of AR's hand a little more. But again, that's why you can't compare them apples to apples because D'Lo now has free reign in Brooklyn. With Ben Simmons out, the only one capable of dribbling the ball past the half court is D'Angelo Russell. We saw that. Like
Cameron Johnson as well.
Not really. I mean, if you look at that play 23 seconds down, Cameron Johnson has the ball on the right wing. He might make the play for game, but Jordy calls a timeout just so he can inbound it back to D'Lo and give him control again. And then Cam Johnson still ends up taking the 3 for a game, which he misses. But I really think that timeout showed how you want the ball ran through D'Lo or nothing else because there's just a giant chasm of difference between D'Angelo Russell and Cameron Johnson in their ability to put the ball down. Whereas on the Lakers, LeBron and Austin Reeves, I think both could do it. And then when D'Lo was there, you had 3 guys that were capable of doing it, which I think is one too many. I also think D'Angelo Russell is definitely more of a choker in the playoffs. I mean, I don't think the guy has done anything in the playoffs to really make him deserving of any sort of respect or recognition. AR versus Memphis was a dog. That half-court 3, he took over. I think it was in the third quarter. Remember, he was waving LeBron off, just going absolutely sicko mode. Yeah, it was one series. It was one opponent, but that's a relevant opponent in the Western Conference playoffs, the Memphis Grizzlies. And you were doing it versus Morant, Bane, and Triple J. So that core was still there. And you've shown you're capable of doing that. D'Lo, all he was doing that playoffs was talking about how many shots he was going to put up after the games because he wasn't hitting any during the game. I think that was a big part. That was a big situation where LeBron and the entire front office lost some faith in D'Lo and started realizing, oh, okay, Austin Reeves might actually be the point guard of the Los Angeles Lakers moving forward. They didn't commit, which I think is one of the biggest, idiocies I've seen from that front office in 2023. Granted, they're trying to one-up it by not giving DFS minutes this year, but
well, it's a coaching decision, though.
I blame the coaches. I blame Darvin Ham for some of those rotations last year, and this year I've been generally pro JJ Redick, especially you know me. I don't like to put much blame or credit on the coaches, but minutes of a player I think are one of the few things that a coach is responsible for, and I just think Darvin Ham didn't handle the 2-guard situation well last year, and this year JJ Redick's not handling the DFS situation well because unless he has the only justification is he has an injury and they have to ease him in. But today Max Christie wasn't playing, so they gave DFS a bunch more minutes.
I mean Cam Reddish wasn't playing.
No, well neither were. But Max Christie's the starter, right? Mm-hmm. So that implies to me that it's not an injury because otherwise how did DFS even play 18 minutes? Mm-hmm. It's that JJ Redick legitimately believes he needs Max Christie, on the floor more than he needs DFS, which to me is just asinine. I don't get it. People talk about Max Christie's defense. I don't find him that good at defense. I find him completely anemic on offense. I think DFS is better on both ends of the floor. He gives you 3-point shooting. He gives you defense. He gives you some rebounding. And you can't look at some of his stats since he joined the Lakers, by the way, because if you give a guy who's used to 20-25 minutes like 10 minutes, it completely throws off their rhythm. It's not really a fair comparison anymore. But to bring it back to D'Lo, good game from him. But again, he wasn't able to get the win. I just don't think he did that amazing this game, but he did solid. And he wasn't performing at this level on the Lakers because he didn't have this. He was saying, I will never take being able to play this free of basketball for granted ever again because basketball on the Lakers isn't free. It can't be. When you're on a contender, basketball isn't free, not unless you're really, really high level like the Warriors once they go get KD, right? Because at that point, there's no bad decisions for you to even make. On the Lakers, he constantly made boneheaded decisions, and I think it was the right move. It was the right move to let him go. So I don't think the Lakers should regret that at all. And I think the Brooklyn, all they got was a good tank commander. That's it. But I do want to say, by the way, before we end this segment or whatever you want to say. Cam Johnson, man, one of the most overrated players in the league right now. He went, let me see my notes, 6 of 20 and 2 of 9 from 3. This is a guy who people were saying is comparable to Mikal Bridges. I don't agree. I think he's worse than Mikal Bridges, and he's already not looking good after coming back from injury. And also just on the Knicks end, because remember, this game was closer than anyone expected. I do want to mention that the Nets beat the pick and roll. That's what Jordy has set their defense up to do. So what Jalen Brunson this game didn't do too hot. 7 of 18, didn't have a ton of assists either. It's because they cut off the roll man. They play hard on the actual ball handler. So what you're supposed to do on the Knicks side is just kick it out to the corner, kick it out to the wing. And that's exactly what Brunson did. But Mikal went 3 of 12. OG Anunoby went 8 of 18. The guys who were supposed to hit the threes just weren't hitting the threes. So don't worry too much on the Knicks end, because I just think the Nets match up well where they shut down your best player. They shut down the pick and roll a bit with Cat, who's your second best player. And they make your third and fourth best players beat you, which is OG and Mikal. And they were just struggling today, and that's why that game was close. So I just wanted to, beyond just D'Lo, I wanted to explain what happened to the Knicks fans. And, that's about, and also just hate on Cam Johnson, because that's what I'm here for. And also shout out Day'Ron Sharpe. I talked about him last time Brooklyn played Lakers. Good player, had another good game, plus minus, rebounds, defense. He did everything. Just low minutes. That's all there is to it.
So we got a lot to unpack there. The first thing I want to talk about with the D'Lo thing is I think you're totally wrong on your evaluation of AR-15. You bring up that playoff series 2 years ago. They played well. Let me tell you this. AR-15 was an absolute nobody, but he had an absolute explosion that season. Comes onto the scene, carries the Lakers to the playoffs. I respect all of that. Mm-hmm. Okay? Then we have to remember, he was a nobody. Defensive scouting reports were not worried about AR-15. Coming to the playoffs, the Grizzlies, remember they said they prayed in my city. They're doing the dances. They were not focused on AR. Their defensive schema was not ready to stop him, and he absolutely took advantage, which I respect. But then, by the time we get to the Nuggets, AR-15 is a much more known product. He disappears. The Nuggets defense was ready for him that's when he had to show up the most, but he couldn't get it done. Then we look at next year, coming to the regular season, he didn't take the leap that his playoff performance suggested. Want to know why? Because he's a known quantity now. Nope. Defensive scouting reports are ready for him. He doesn't struggle per se, but he just played at the level you kind of expected him to. Then we look at this season. I will give you his systems have gone up as he's getting more ball handling duties, but he's still not taking that next leap because ultimately he's not that good. He's not that versatile. When the defense is keyed onto him, he is not that difficult to stop. On the D'Lo side, he's a vet point guard. He keeps getting almost, I want to say, 18 to 20 points and average around 8 assists every season in, season out. 3-4 different teams, he still does it. Okay, you cannot underrate that sort of consistency. You talk about one playoff series 2 years ago. I talk about 6-7 years of production, of output,
of stubbornness, of staleness,
but is 20
stagnant.
Is 18, 20 points and 8 assists? Is that bad?
I mean, he's more like 16 and 7.
Okay, but
he's
still,
more like 16 and 7.
But still,
and yeah, it's bad because the amount of time he holds the ball in his hands. That's way less time for LeBron. Way less time for AD. Your shooters aren't getting the shots. Huge amount of turnovers when you're playing against playoff teams. Like this game, he didn't. Yeah, but normally against proper playoff teams, turnovers are an issue with him too.
But same thing with AR-15. When he's against better defenses, he's also struggling with turnovers. But D'Lo is better at it. Because I'm telling you, he's a better passer. The crux of the argument, I believe, is that D'Lo is simply is a better offensive player. And when both guys are defensive cones, that's all that matters. You seem to believe that AR-15 has a better offensive back, or just as good, but cheaper contract.
I would say just as good, cheaper contract, younger, more moldable to new coaching changes and schema changes. And I would say AR is a little better at defense. I always found they're pretty much both cones, but what I like about AR is he's pretty smart about how he funnels his man into AD. So when he's getting blown by, there's sort of an intention to it. I see D'Lo doing a lot more of the dumb fouls, for example, reaching, right? You've got to admit, D'Lo does more dumb reaching fouls because AR pretty much never reaches in. So that alone makes that's like the difference right there before anything else. Like the contract matters. Lakers are already so money strapped, and that's why I've been telling you my theory. I think the Lakers didn't even understand Dorian Finney-Smith was good. They legitimately just were like, hey, we'll give you D'Angelo Russell. Please take his terrible contract off our hands, and you guys can just give us whatever you want. Like anything y'all been keeping in the trash, we'll take it. Like, and that's just sad because there's no way this team's going to win if that's what your front office, your GM, your coach, if they don't recognize the talent in Dorian Finney-Smith and realize that he was a great pickup and that I have him better as Cam Johnson. I couldn't believe the Lakers got him.
Better than Cameron Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. 6 of 20 Cameron Johnson. Not
I mean,
exactly
he had
hot.
one bad game.
Yeah.
I was going to get to that before my D'Lo point.
The Lakers, I mean, they're just, I don't want to make this a Lakers segment, but because we're just talking about D'Lo and who he was on the Lakers, it's just sad, man. It's just sad. Dorian Finney-Smith is being wasted on that bench right now, and he had a great game versus the Wizards. Hopefully that'll show the coaching staff, like, please, man, you can't win with Max Christie. It's not possible.
So, if I can get back to my point, we had a bit of a Lakers soap opera going on there. I'm sorry. I apologize to the audience on my Lakers stan co-host on his behalf. Anyway, so getting back to the point. So that's what the fundamental disagreement comes down to. I believe that D'Angelo Russell is a better passer, slightly better shooter. His driving game is better. I think he's better in the pick and roll. These 4 things are my main reasons why I believe D'Lo is more versatile.
Austin Reeves is so much better at finishing. I think
D'Lo is better at finishing.
Nah.
If you see
he
that floater
looks
game,
prettier because of the floater, but AR has that game where it's like, we know why.
Well,
what
do you want to say?
He's got that Tyrese Halliburton game. No one respects his shooting as much as they should. No one respects his. I remember we were watching a Tyrese Halliburton game, and he hit like this tough midi shot, and I was like, he works on that. That's him. And you were like, no, he don't. That's Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah. He's one of the best midi shooters in the league right now. But your attitude towards him, and you watch a lot of basketball, but you had a bias towards Tyrese Halliburton that there's no way he's a midi shooter because he shoots sort of like he's still got like a hitch or he's got like a wedgie. I don't know what you want to call it, but he shoots a little weird. So some of that affects Austin Reeves.
I mean,
whereas D'Lo is very, very smooth. He looks better than he actually is. When he does that little slither dribble and he puts that floater up or he throws it for the lob, you start thinking like, wow, this guy is really elite. Then you go check the stats and it's like, wow, he's really not elite, man.
So I, to some extent, I understand what you're talking about. First of all, I need to defend myself on the Halliburton point. Halliburton might have good splits on his mid-ranger, but he doesn't shoot a lot of them. And shooting difficult middies is not a part of his game. I watch Pacers basketball.
You watch them practices.
Step back middies are not this guy's primary game.
He learned it from Spicy P.
You could say whatever you want with the stats. Oh, wow, he's 50% on the short midi. I don't care. He didn't shoot a lot of those. I'm not going to see him as a midi shooter, especially on a step back contested midi. I think is what we were watching when I made that point. So I'm going to leave it there. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying with D'Lo. When you just do the eye test on him, he can kind of trick you. He's kind of... I can't even think of the word right now, but
he's the Patrick Beverly of offense. He tricking y'all. He ain't really doing nothing. Shout out Russell Westbrook.
I don't know whoever watches Pat Bev is like, that's a beautiful basketball. But okay. So I understand that, but I'm not using how aesthetic he looks when he's playing as part of my evaluation. I truly just believe that he's better. Because, for example, that slither dribble, that's what makes him so deadly in the pick and roll. Oh, when he throws the ball up, well, his motion from throwing the floater and the lob looks almost identical. So when he's playing great defenders, even they're getting confused. Like, oh, do I need to contest a lob to AD right behind me? Or is this a floater that's going to arc right over my head? So ultimately, I'm giving you examples why I think D'Lo is better offensively. But at the end of the day, we can say it's close. I just think D'Lo is better. So then to address the other points you brought up, Cameron Johnson, you're so quick to hate on him because he had one bad game. Like you said yourself, he's coming back from injury. And you also have to remember, he's playing with a new guy, D'Angelo Russell. Before D'Lo came, the Nets were obviously like a dumpster fire. They didn't have a real point guard to play through.
Dennis Schroeder.
Well, I mean, there's been a sizable gap, like say 15 games. Since
Cam Johnson missed most of that time.
Schroeder was traded.
Yep.
And then D'Lo just came.
No, exactly. But Cam Johnson didn't really play in that time.
He did.
Not really.
I think he played some games. He definitely played some games.
Sure.
So there's an adjustment period. Obviously, having a new point guard, you went from having a solid point guard and shooter to no point guard to now you have a new point guard, like who you said yourself is pretty ball dominant. So there's an adjustment period. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really too worried about that. And he was 6 of 20, but obviously on a bad team, he had to keep shooting. It is the way it is. I still like this defense because when you look at Cameron Johnson, a lot of contenders are looking at him. Well, if you look at the contenders, they all have stars. I don't need a ball hungry, step back shooting star, LaMelo Ball type. I need someone who can shoot threes, play defense, passing will be nice. These are the things you're looking for.
Dude, he can't pass and he can't dribble. It's just going to be a Bradley Beal situation.
He can't pass. I'll give you that, but he can score. I think he's a better scorer than Bradley Beal is right now. Just because he's young, his driving game is way better than Beal, who's kind of old and a little washed up with all those injuries. Remember, Bradley Beal has injuries. When you talk about Bradley Beal, remember, his back was busted for a year. You can't forget that.
Been there, done that.
Of course, you're back. Yeah, I'm sure. So then you have Cameron Johnson, who I think is a solid offensive threat, and his defense is solid. So I will say teams be careful about what they give out for him. I think he's worse than Mikal Bridges. I've been on that. I've been a fan of Mikal.
They're saying minimum 2 first-round picks. You buying that? You interested in that? And I want to relate this to the Kings. You're a known fan of the Kings.
Nope.
You're a glazer of the Kings.
I don't glaze.
A lot of rumors.
I appreciate.
A lot of rumors around them right now that they're going to do a win now trade pretty soon. And the 2 main options they're eyeing are John Collins, a center from the Utah Jazz, or Cameron Johnson, wing from the Brooklyn Nets. And Brooklyn Nets have said, or been rumored to say, they want at least 2 firsts for Cam Johnson. So with that in mind, as the Kings, you've seen this game, but of course you're telling me, don't look at 1 game sample size. With your evaluation of Cam Johnson, how are you feeling? You going for Cam? You going for John Collins?
First of all, I'm not going for John Collins. Kings, Sacramento, please do not go for John Collins. It's not going to solve your problems. Cameron Johnson. So this is the interesting thing about him and what they're demanding for him. I hate to disagree with you, but you brought up a good point with the DFS Cameron Johnson evaluation. I think Cameron Johnson as a player is better, no doubt about it. But when you look at what a team needs, what I talked about, where they have the stars, the 3 and the D, DFS, I think, arguably might be better at providing those things. So when you're a team, when you look at Cameron Johnson, you want a team that would appreciate more shooting, more defense, but they need that X factor. They need another player who can raise the bar and raise their play and give them more variability. So a team that's not so good. So the Kings they're a decent example because on paper, they look like they need some X factor to win games.
Don't they already have a lot of X Factor?
Exactly. You have DeMar DeRozan and Malik Monk. You have
Yeah.
2 X Factors. So the point I was getting to was if you want Cameron Johnson, you would have to trade away DeMar DeRozan. I'm not even kidding. So I know DeRozan been having a great stretch, and that's a big reason why they're winning games. But I don't know if he'll maintain that because when I evaluate DeRozan, I see him as one of the biggest problems in the Kings' woes because of his lack of shooting, his reliance on free throws but not getting them, his midi shooting decreasing this season, him having less spacing because he comes to a team that struggled with spacing last season, and he didn't provide any spacing of his own. As I said, the Kevin Huerter injuries have really hurt the Kings' 3-point shooting. So when I look at it, I don't think Cameron Johnson solves any of their problems. I understand the mentality want to win now. You have De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, the box score beast himself. But I don't think Cameron Johnson gets it done, and I sure as hell don't think John Collins gets it done. I honestly don't know what development and improvement he's made to his game.
So what team noticeably bumps up if they get Cameron Johnson? Everyone want to keep talking about how contenders are eyeing this guy. Mm-hmm. What team? Name a single team where it's like, oh, they're like 4th in the West, 5th in the West, 4th in the East, and they bump up a significant number of spots where it's like, listen, you're not going to become the best team just by getting this guy, but now you're within striking distance. Can you? Because I don't have him rated highly enough to be a starter on a contender. Like,
really?
If he, like, when I look at the Cavs, I think of Max Strus, for example. Max Strus is a little worse.
Yeah, he's definitely not a starter.
But he's starting right now because Evan Mobley's out, right?
Wait, really?
But he's normally a bench player. Mm-hmm. And I think of like Dean Wade. I have him. He doesn't exactly.
I think Cameron Johnson is better than both those players.
Cameron Johnson's better than Dean Wade?
I think so, yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
So I might not have a team in mind right now. But
Denver. What do you think about Denver? I think Denver's probably the best
Denver
one.
came to mind because I think they would really appreciate someone who can, score, put the ball on the floor in a scoring manner, especially when Jamal Murray's struggling. It doesn't seem likely we're going to see another 30 points per game full playoff run from him again, but, a fan can hope. I can hope. So they'd really benefit from that. So I was thinking the Nuggets. The reason I didn't mention them, I don't think they have a lot of trade assets. Yeah. I don't know what the cap space situation is like, but I don't think it's great. Yeah. They signed Westbrook to a minimum. They took a chance on him. So I think the team like the Nuggets would like Cameron Johnson, but I don't think they can get him. So you have to look at what teams are able to get him, and if they would benefit, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I still think Johnson is a solid player for the reasons I listed. So I don't have a trade target for him, but I still think he's a solid player. And I want to talk about the Knicks, because I haven't gotten a chance to. I was talking about Big Bodega, man. He's the best second option in the NBA right now. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. I'm sure he does too. I don't care.
Hop off.
Nah, bro. Never.
Kyrie.
Never.
Kyrie.
Yeah. You talking about me hopping off, bro? You talking about Kyrie Irving because you like his handle so much?
I like
Big Bodega. Big Bodega. 25 points, 11 and 19 from the field, 16 boards, 5 of which were offense, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, getting it done on both ends. Your boy Kyrie never doing that. Never getting that many boards. He might score that many points, but he gonna miss a lot of shots.
No.
Can't play defense like that.
That's cap.
Cat, one of the best shooting big men in the league. He was 0-3 last night, but he's still one of the best shooting big men.
Kyrie can do
I don't
it
care.
all. Kyrie can do it all. You're gonna see in the playoffs. My boy
gonna show up. Big purr.
My boy had the biggest shot of the 2010s, and the only competition is Ray Allen's 3. Okay, he had a top 2 shot in the finals of the 2010s.
He peaked early, bro.
Only person to ever have won down 3-1. Him and LeBron. And then he goes and he saves Dallas's sorry ass franchise.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
He saved Dallas, not the other way around.
He saved, bro. Luka was going to leave Dallas because they were trash. Then they get Derek Lively and Kyrie Irving, 2 highly underrated players. And now look at Dallas. They're finally doing something. They're relevant.
I mean, their front court, you have to give a lot of credit to them. Because that defense.
Lively.
Lively. Yeah, Lively. You give it to Lively. I don't care.
Yeah.
But that defense they've constructed, Kyrie ain't contributing to that.
Kyrie is incredibly important because without Kyrie, Luka puts up 40 shots a game, looking like, man, I don't even want to say nothing, but he just be putting up a lot of shots and not doing a lot. That's it. And like he was struggling with.
He was doing a lot.
He was
10
struggling
assists per game, not a lot.
He was struggling. Remember when Kyrie joined, Luka went from being a cone to actually decent at defense because he didn't have to just have the ball in his hand the entire game. Who else was handling the rock on that team? Even now, you letting Klay Thompson hold the ball? No. Yeah, P.J. Washington got a nice floater, but you got to bring it in with one of the guards. Right now, Luka been out. And yeah, that's about it, man. Let's wrap it up and come back for the next segment.
Let's wrap it up. We're gonna go on a 3-minute break, and then we're gonna be talking about our next game, the 76ers versus the Denver Nuggets. Alrighty, welcome back to another segment of the 50-50 show. I'm, of course, your host, Omair. This is my co-host, Omar. Next, we'll be talking about the 76ers taking on the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets absolutely blow out the Sixers in embarrassing fashion. One moment. Sorry about that. Denver Nuggets destroy the 76ers in an embarrassing blowout behind Nikola Jokic's dominant triple-double 27-point performance. The question we're asking now, and I want to ask you, Omar, can the Sixers make the playoffs?
Yes. The Sixers can make the playoffs because the East is just that easy. They're the 11th seed right now, but they've been on an upswing. You know, at the beginning, they were playing at like Wizards or New Orleans Pelicans levels, unable to win a single game. But I think Tyrese Maxey and Paul George have finally figured out how to stay on the floor together and then how to actually win some games. They're not very good, but I have them above teams like the Hawks, and they can beat the Brooklyn Nets of the world. And I think they'll be able to sneak into the play-ins where I think they're a threat, especially if Joel Embiid is fine by then. This game, I mean, they got absolutely blown out. They lost in 3 quarters. The bench units for both teams played the entire 4th quarter. It started out pretty close. I mean, they were blitzing Paul George, but he was getting out of it. He was passing. He was getting good shots. Tyrese Maxey was efficient throughout the whole game, 28 and 10 on efficient shooting. I was really happy to see that.
I mean, only 30% from 3, though. Is that efficient to you?
Yeah, I mean, when you're taking step back threes, you're taking contested threes, I think it's okay. But overall, I think he was 50% from the field. And he had a good plus-minus for how badly they lost. So, because my biggest critique of Tyrese this year is that when he's the third option or the second option, I rate him really, really highly. But he showed that he was not ready for the first option capabilities and responsibilities because he was shooting like 30% from the field, 35% from the field at the beginning of this year. So I think he's doing better in that regard. The biggest issue on this team is and has been and will continue to be Kelly Oubre Jr., who is a Shaden Sharp level player, bench guy, G League level player.
Shaden Sharp, he's a solid player. He should be getting more minutes in Portland too.
Shaden Sharp is trash, and they finally benched him because they realized even Scoot Henderson's better than him. And
Scoot Henderson should get more minutes too, actually.
Bless me.
Bless you. God bless you.
Yeah, God looking out for me because I have to sit next to that. I'm allergic to BS. You already know what it is. Hey, so let's stick to it. Kelly Oubre Jr. really bad. Andre Drummond really bad. Wasn't able to get rebounds this game. Jokic absolutely dominated him. But Kelly Oubre Jr., man, just atrocious. Early in the first quarter, gives up a super easy rebound to Christian Braun, who then proceeds to like dunk it on him, and he's not even moving. Super sad. And then I think later on, near the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, pretty much he's in the exact same spot. This time he's just trailing behind MPJ, gives up the offensive board to MPJ, who puts back. So that's 4 points right there. That's 2 major rebounds. You know, I don't know that there's a stat that really measures that. You can be a not great rebounder, but it's something else to be a guy who just stands near the paint and then doesn't get the critical rebounds, gives them over to the opposition, and really helps them get on that run. Because I think if those 2 offensive rebounds don't go, Philly was fine. They were keeping it competitive, but those kind of buckets, they really killed the morale of the team. But obviously, the number one issue this game was just they have no response for Jokic because Embiid has been ducking that smoke for about 3.5 years. Yep. Really sad. I mean, I believe he's injured. Don't get me wrong. I think he's injured right now, and I think he's been injured often. But I definitely don't think he's been injured every time that he's dodged this matchup. And it is what it is. Yabusele, he got hot from 3. He shot like 4 of 6 from 3, which is not normal for him. And it still didn't matter. Andre Drummond just couldn't rebound. Kelly Oubre Jr. just utterly, I regret every minute I watched him play. Pleasantly surprised by Tyrese Maxey. Paul George is fine. He's doing fine. Eric Gordon, fine. I see a lot of people hating on Eric Gordon, saying he's old, saying he's not like cutting it. I thought he was fine. Like I just don't know what you guys want. Like he's not fine if all you do is look at the points tab of your box score, and he's not fine if all you look at. So you can't
put the ball in the basket.
You know, he can put he got some points, but it's like he's doing the little things. He's making the hockey passes. He's screening. Like I just don't see that he's doing anything particularly wrong. Like when you're a team fighting for 8th seed, to have Eric Gordon on your team, I think is perfectly acceptable, and he's probably a little overqualified for that. Like, he's not overqualified to be a starter, but he's definitely overqualified to be a bench player on that bad of a team.
I think he's right where he needs to be. I don't think he's overqualified.
No, he's overqualified.
Definitely not.
But the issue for this team is just the struggle for offense. And that first quarter, they were just missing every transition layup. So they gave up 18 transition points to Denver in the first quarter. But like Nick Nurse said in his interview, it's just they weren't making anything. So now you're missing your 2 points, and then Denver gets to just run out, right? Because you missed, and you're behind them. So I thought that was the biggest deal, and I put a lot of that blame on Kelly Oubre Jr. I put some on Andre Drummond. Paul George was okay. I really have nothing. I mean, in general, I think people have been hating on Paul George too much. This game, I just don't have much to say. But he's still fine. I don't like any of his comments about being bored. That's weird.
Yeah, he's bored playing the center.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that because ultimately I have Paul George. I rate him really, really highly. Like, I'm going to list a couple players that will make you guys mad, but he's better than Cade Cunningham. He's better than De'Aaron Fox. I have him over Tyrese Halliburton. Let's name some wings. I got him over Jaylen Brown.
What?
I got him over Kristaps Porzingis.
The reigning finals MVP?
Mm-hmm.
Paul George is better than them.
Yep, I got him over Evan Mobley. I think that's enough by now. Probably most people won't agree with most of what I just said, but that's how high I am on him.
Viewers have brains, so
that's
I would
how high
hope so.
I am on him. But I just think it hurt his legacy a lot to leave the Clippers and be like. I think one weird thing is that he signed up to be a third option, and now he has to be a second option.
Yeah.
And he's just struggling to get back into that role because I felt he was always a better second option on the Clippers than he has been on Philly. So it's like, I'm not delusional. I know he's gotten worse since he's coming to Philly, but I rated him really highly. I thought if Kawhi was healthy, that team was a title favorite, and people are going to mock them, and they always laugh at that trade or whatever in hindsight because they gave up Shea for him. Yeah. But if that had worked out, everyone would have been riding Clippers for finally getting a ring for that useless franchise. And because that was a great trade, like those were 2 amazing players, and I don't understand if PG's dealing with injury. I don't know if mentally he just checked out when he even joined, and now we're just seeing that. But yeah, in general, I think people hate on PG way too much. He's a very good player, but not enough this game. Not even close. They just don't have the offensive firepower. They're not making the buckets in transition, and I actually think I'm thinking about it right now. Cam Johnson would be a good fit for the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah, because I think they just need some shooting. If they could have some shooting and really free up Tyrese Maxey, and then that in turn would free up Paul George, I think they go from like play-in, 9th, 10th, 8th seed to probably like 6th, 5th best. And then if Embiid ever comes back and is healthy, it's still an upgrade. He's a better version of an Eric Gordon type. And now you can be like the 3rd best team in the East. Maybe you can upset and be 2nd best. I think there's a lot of upside both in terms of raising your floor and in raising your ceiling by getting someone like Cam Johnson because the offense is just where I'm really struggling with on this team.
Wow. I can't believe I had to sit there for 10 minutes and listen to that. Let's get into it.
You probably think 10 minutes is a long time, don't you?
It is.
Well, that was 8 minutes, so that tells you how...
It's an incredibly long time. But anyways, let's focus on topic. Okay. First of all, I need to say this. For Paul George, Kelly Oubre must really feel like when it's the difference between when you're fighting the final boss and the villain to when he's finally on your team. As we know, Kelly Oubre was the bane of PG's existence along with Joe Ingles. Now they're on the same team. Kelly Oubre decides to not play so well. Okay, but all jokes aside, of course, I'm not going to blame Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre, for God's sake. You're one of the most handsome men in the league. Pause.
What? That's how you decide who to blame? By how beautiful their eyes are?
No.
By their nose structure?
Calm down. That's not what I'm saying.
Diddy?
What are you talking about, Diddy, bro?
Because you sounded like him right now. That's how he picked out his
insulting.
rappers. That's how he picked out his rappers.
That's insulting.
That's how you pick out your hoopers.
Let me make my point. Okay? The 76ers, they were seen as a championship contender coming into the season. I'm not going to blame role player number 5 for the reason why they're not. So let's not get it twisted. Kelly Oubre is not a great player. Everything you brought up, valid. I'm not going to argue it. He's a bum. Thing is, that don't matter. That's not an excuse for why you're outside the play-in in the East. In the East, for God's sake. Like, what are you talking about?
Sure matters.
So why are they trash? Well, first of all, Joel Embiid. I'm not going to blame him, okay? Let's talk about his knees, okay? The issue with his knee is his meniscus. He's torn it 3-4 times, got multiple surgeries. And what does that mean for an athlete's career? They will always be dealing with pain and swelling. It's a continuous chronic thing that they'll have to constantly manage. Thing is, it seemed to get progressively worse. 2 seasons ago, he had enough strength to play enough games so he could win that MVP award. Last season, he tears his meniscus again. He's gone for most of the season. Comes back in the playoffs, does not look like the same guy. He's throwing elbows, but he's not putting the ball in the bucket the same. He's not defending the same. And this season, it's even worse. The Sixers got him Paul George. Maxi's taking that next level. He's bulked up. He's trying to get better. And he still can't play. Because I'm not saying it's a mental thing or it's his fault. I'm just saying his knee must be getting worse and worse, where a team is looking better than ever. There's more optimism than ever in the city of Philadelphia, and he just can't play any regular season games. Then he gets on the court. He looks pretty good. I will give him that. He's a Kawhi Leonard type player. When they come back from big injuries and they still look good, right? But not the same player they were before the injury, mind you. Kawhi's still not as good as he was. So he comes back and he gets more injury. He like fractures his face. Okay, this guy can't catch a break. So when I look at why a team goes from championship contenders to outside the playoffs in the East, I look at the first option. And I'm not gonna blame him per se, but you have to understand it's the reason they suck, because they don't have their first option. They don't have JoJo. So then I look at the rest of the players. Maxey, I was high on him from the start. I hate watching him as a first option, but there's nothing he can do. He's in a tough spot. Okay, his first option is injured, but when he plays the first option, it's really hard to watch. He had negative 24 for the game. For example, Kelly Oubre had negative 20. So if you hate Kelly Oubre so much, Maxey was looking worse on the plus minus. I know it's a noisy stat, but you can't ignore it. Okay, so Maxey's the first option, not great. I love the 10 assists. I'm not, like I said, not a Maxey hater. The assists were good. I like what I saw on the playmaking end, which really, actually, from Maxey and Joel Embiid, I want to see that improved playmaking. That I really think that can elevate a team when a player is a great playmaker. Joel Embiid had flashes of that, but since he's injured, he can't really develop that passing. Like, don't expect any playmaking improvements from Joel Embiid. Sixers fans, you're just praying that he comes back and he at least 90% of the player that he once was.
Bro. He's done. I'm saying it right now, Joel. Embiid's done.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Khan. So what did that tell me? The Sixers, they cannot make the playoffs. It's not happening.
Do you think they can't make the playoffs if Embiid doesn't come back?
No, this team is nothing without Joel Embiid. The win-loss record proves it, and when you watch them, it's the same thing. Maxey's not built to be a first option, and I don't want to see that. It hurts my eyes, hurts my heart. And then look at Paul George. He did not have a good game. He was bad. He was straight up bad. And yeah, exactly. Talking about being bored. It's just not a good look, Podcast P. You know, I highly disagree with all the players you said he's better than, but I do understand the player he once was. He absolutely was a force. Two-way, really dynamic player. You know, these days we talk about 3-and-D to complement offensively minded stars. Well, PG was one of the few guys who could get it done on both ends, which I do respect for his legacy. But right now, his defense is okay, his shooting is okay, but he's just not that good anymore.
I just think people ignore the good PG games, because what about the game where they almost beat the Knicks? They took it to OT. That was PG.
But Maxey was doing the most.
I would say PG was doing more. I thought PG was
Maxey had a 40-piece, I think. Or that might have been a different game. Yeah, but Maxey had a good game.
I think that was a different game. Yeah. I thought PG was doing a ton in that game to keep him in the game. And yeah, I just think people don't really comment or pay too much attention to when PG pops off, because no one cares about Philly.
And why should they? No Joel Embiid, they're trash.
But they're not trash. I just think it's much like, you know, how the Kings were in the 12th seed, and I was talking about how that roster was in 12th seed level, and now they've started winning. People might try to give the credit to the coach. No, it was just variance. They had bad variance with the old coach, good variance with this one. That's how things go. So Philly, to me, is just on the downside of variance. I think Philly would have more wins than this normally.
Where's the injuries? The Kings didn't have injury. That's why
Jared McCain.
That's why I agree with your variance.
Jared McCain injury. Tyrese Maxey missed some games. Paul George groin tightness like every game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, what I'm saying.
And then they keep bringing Embiid in, and then he leaves again, so it's messing up the flow.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I agree with you. Sixers are dealing with tons of injuries.
Yeah.
How can you say variance? The Kings, I agree with the variance thing because they were all healthy. There were no injuries to speak of. With the Sixers, they keep missing players. Players are in and out. They're trash because their players can't play.
No, that's cap, bro. That's cap. They're just getting unlucky. They're just getting unlucky.
How do you get unlucky for almost half a season?
Of course it happens. The Kings literally just rattled off like a 9-game win streak. So up until that win streak, people with your mentality who weren't Kings Glazers.
I own Glaze.
Probably thought they were bad. But you were over here beating your chest like, Darren Fox is good, guys. Trust me.
And I was right.
And I'm just saying, I'm just saying that Tyrese Maxey and Paul George are better than DeMontis Sabonis and Darren Fox as a duo. I stand on that. I stand on business. The main issue with this Philly team is the role players are trash.
You're standing on a mound of crack.
Kelly Oubre Jr. is trash. Caleb Martin is trash. Andre Drummond is
Caleb
trash.
Martin, you love Caleb Martin. You're switching on him now too?
Yeah, I'm switched on him.
You want to switch on him?
He low-key got me.
You said you stayed on business.
He had me in a trance. Anyways, Yabusele trash. So the issue with this team is the role players. Jared McCain going out hurt
what
us
is it?
a lot.
Is it variant or the role players trash? Please.
It's both.
So it's both.
So because the role players are trash, they can't really get any higher than like the 8th seed. But them being like whatever they're in right now, the play-ins, I think.
No, right now they're the 11th seed. They're out of the play-ins.
Yeah, 11th seed.
They're shacked up with the Nets.
They shouldn't be 11th seed. They should be 10th, 9th seed right now. That's what I'm saying about the variance.
So you see them in the play and you think they can win?
Yeah, I see them in the play.
With or without Joel Embiid?
With Joel Embiid, they're smoking anyone in the play-ins. But I'm saying even without Joel Embiid, I like them versus the Hawks. I like them versus who are some other bad Eastern Conference teams? Bulls, yeah, dude. Are you kidding me?
I mean, the Bulls are the 10th seed.
The Bulls are trash. I'm taking anyone over the Bulls. I'm taking my YMCA league if I played in one over the Bulls.
Bro.
Who else is there? I'm not even sure.
Are the Pacers that low or no?
No, I don't think so. But are the Pistons that low? I don't think
the Pistons are that low.
Oh, they're that low?
I think they're play-ins.
Pistons might be
7th seed.
Yeah.
Pistons.
Oh yeah, 7th. So Pistons might be better. I'm not sure.
So you
on
think
that
the
one.
Sixers could beat the Pistons? Not the Pistons no more.
It just depends how Cade. If Cade keeps improving, then probably no. But if everything stalls out here, then yeah, I like my chances. Also, if Jaden Ivey comes back, I don't think Detroit's smart enough to keep him on the bench. I think they might actually try to give the guy like significant minutes.
He's improved.
Every minute you give to Jaden Ivey is like Philadelphia's thanking God because now they actually have a chance to win the game. And also if Philly does any trades, because even though it looks hopeless and they only have 15 or whatever wins, if you don't trade for something right now, like what do? You're in such a tough spot. I think your best bet is like keep trying to win, knowing you'll never win the chip, but just try to get to that 4th seed level so you can fill seats. Because right now, Philly hasn't been able to sell out their seats. I've been seeing videos from a couple of their games. It's looking empty.
I mean, there's no Joel Embiid. Who you come to watch? I like Maxey, but not a lot of people in the Maxey train.
I think people will come watch Maxey if you're in like the 4th seed area. If you're contending, I think Philly will be okay with it. They won't love it because they're haters. They hate themselves. I mean, Bill Burr has talked about that better than I ever could. But I think you just need to give them a decent team, and they'll respect it. Right now, it's not respectable. It feels like, what are we doing? Our second best player is a podcaster talking about how he's bored of playing center. That's just not good vibes. That's the main issue with this team is the vibes.
Okay, so it went from variance to the role players to now vibes. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, brain. How about that? How about you find that, you absolute Sacramento Kings glazer? How can you stand up for the Kings but don't understand Philly?
I'd be offended.
The box score beast.
I'd be offended if that wasn't clever. So, this guy, he can't make up his mind on why the Sixers are bad. I've given you concrete evidence on why the Sixers are nothing without Joel Embiid.
Go watch Kelly Oubre Jr. and tell me Bronny James isn't better than him. If you can legitimately say he's better than Bronny
Oubre smokes that Nepo baby.
Nope.
Yep.
Kelly Oubre Jr. is a Nepo baby. He's only in the league because he's the hottest dude in the league.
What?
I swear. He's trash. He can't hoop.
Fourth reason.
He can't pass.
Eye candy. This bro talking about eye candy.
He can't pass. He can't rebound. He can't shoot. He can't play defense. I don't know what he can do.
The only thing he can do is can't play defense. All the other things he can do.
No.
To a degree, better than Bronny James. So I'm gonna leave it there. So before we close the segment, two teams played last night. So I'm gonna talk about the Nuggets real quick. Obviously, they put 140 on the Sixers' head. Big part of that was variance. Julian Strawther. Sorry. He had 23 points on 5 of 9 shooting. That's not happening again. But my boy, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, another MVP performance. 27 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 of 15 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. All in three quarters, as you said. So, once again, more evidence that Jokic is the MVP.
Hey, I just want to mention something. I think it's second quarter, Jokic kicks it to Jamal Murray on the right corner, right? This man launches at my speed, okay? Paul George is completely behind on the play. He's probably thinking about what he's going to be talking on the podcast. He manages to recover because that's how much more athletic he is than Jamal Murray. And then Jamal Murray just ends up kicking it back out to Jokic, who just shoots a 3 and makes it, which is cheat code. So yeah,
him.
Respect to
He
Jokic.
worked his shooting mechanics.
No, for sure.
He doesn't stop improving.
For sure. Like I'm with you on the horse guy. But Jamal Murray is looking absolutely cooked. I know he's had a couple of great games, so people have been talking about him. Maybe he's just tired, right? Like maybe he just can't sustain this. Bless you, man. Bless you. You're probably thinking of Jamal Murray's trashness.
Too much BS.
Yeah.
I'm allergic myself.
You're trying to take my line.
We share genetics, so
Bro,
I can.
bro,
we share genetics. We share jokes. It's the way it goes.
But I just didn't like what I saw from Jamal Murray, but I guess I will say it does seem sort of intentional. He just doesn't really play the game versus bad teams, and he lets Russell Westbrook be the real point guard. And then when he has to play and he has to actually step up, he sometimes chooses to. But that's my main worry with this team is like which Jamal Murray is going to show up in the playoffs. Because if it's this one that I just saw today, they're not making it anywhere. But if they can get that Lakers Jamal Murray.
Yeah, buddy, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Because I still don't believe in the bench. Like Christian Braun, 8 of 11.
Braun's starting. He's a starter.
Yeah, no, I know. But I watched him, and I'm telling you, if Kelly Oubre Jr. was replaced by a real player, Christian Braun is going like 6 of 11 or 5 of 11 or 5 of 9. Like,
wait, why are you bringing up Oubre Jr.?
Because Braun,
he's still on your mind.
I watched a lot of Braun taking advantage of Kelly Oubre Jr.
Okay,
like
that's what you meant.
That specific matchup is one I wanted to highlight. Like,
I wonder what would have happened if Braun was playing Bronny James. I think he might have had a 30-piece.
No, Bronny James would have clamped that boy up. He would have clamped him up.
All right.
Bryce James looking good too. So
I was talking about high school.
No, he's in college now.
Oh, never mind. College freshman. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Bronny James is basically a sophomore.
Bro,
so
you ain't think about any other rookie. You don't make any excuses like that for other rookies.
What excuses?
Scoot Henderson, he's year 2. He's a sophomore in college.
Yeah.
You're like, bench him.
I like Bronny over Scoot. I'm
ending the segment.
I'm ending
the segment. Guys, Sixers fans.
I like Bronny over Shaedon Sharpe.
Lose all hope. They're not making it to the playoffs.
Portland Trailblazers fan, lose all hope. If y'all didn't know, y'all trash.
We're going on a 3-minute break. We'll be back to talk about our final game from last night. The Toronto Raptors surprisingly beating the Orlando Magic.
Ain't no surprise. Alrighty, so welcome back to the next segment of the 50-50 show. We're going to be talking about one last game from last night, the Orlando Magic versus the Toronto Raptors. The Orlando Magic lost in an upset 93-109 to the tanking Toronto Raptors. No Emmanuel Quickly, led by Scotty Barnes, who almost had a 17-point triple-double. Paolo Banchero had 26 points and 12 rebounds, also had 5 turnovers and 5 fouls. But Omair, what do you make of this upset? Orlando Magic generally considered a contender team, been doing well despite all the injuries. In this game, Cole Anthony ended up not playing, and then Jonathan Isaac played 5 minutes, got injured or something tweaked, and then left the game and never came back. What do you make of this loss?
This Magic team is cursed. It's simple, okay? Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, both separately having breakout seasons, hitting that next level of basketball play. What happened? Both of them get injured at separate times. These two have yet to play together on the court beyond maybe 3 games. Then, Jalen Suggs takes a hard fall, unfortunately, rolled out in a wheelchair. I believe he's still injured. One of the best defensive point guards in the league, not just the East. And that's simply not controversial. It's just true. Cole Anthony, he's solid. Isaac Black not playing. Literally, this team is the definition of unlucky. This guy talking about the Sixers being unlucky, the Magic is what we call unlucky, where they're a good team, but they literally can't get past these injuries. So let's talk about the game. The biggest thing I want to talk about is for Paolo and why they lost is he's my boy. I really love his game. I love his improvement, but he still has glaring weaknesses. I'm going to admit it. So the turnovers, he had 5, 2 assists to 5 turnovers, decimal ratio. It's unacceptable. Decimal Danny's cannot be first option. This is not going to work like that. The thing is, I'm not worried. Want to know why? At the end of the day, he's a power forward. Okay, I don't want him handling the ball that much. When Franz comes back, he's going to take on some of those ball handling duties. He's going to absorb some of that defensive pressure. Those turnovers will come down naturally. So while it was a big contribution to this loss, I'm ultimately not worried. Same thing goes for those free throws. The free throw shooting was not great. I think he was 4 of 7. This is not a good percentage, but once again, power forward. We want to evaluate him like a guard because he moves like one. He can handle like one. But ultimately, the free throw shooting must improve, but he's ultimately a big man. It's just going to come with time. I love the three-point shooting. He wasn't very accurate, but I want to say he was 3 of 7. I love the fact they took 7 attempts. Because as I've talked about before, a big part of Paolo's game is his driving, his midi, superb. But if that three-point shot is falling, if he gets a consistent three-point shot, he hits a whole new level of offensive deadliness. So just keep an eye on that. I really want to look for that three-point shooting to improve. But those were his 2 main issues, but ultimately I think they will improve. And the turnovers thing, I have 0 concern about because I know Franz will be back. Now let's talk about the Toronto Raptors. I said this from the start. My co-host disagreed, talking about Emmanuel Quickly, telling me to hop off. You need to leave that boy Quickly alone. Scotty Barnes, 8 assists, 2 turnovers, amazing playmaking, showing what I was talking about. He can be a real point forward type player. He had 17 points. He was a solid scorer. And then the defense, remember, I'm a big fan. 2-way players. He's a big fan of 2-way players. Barnes, solid defender. 2 steals, 1 block. Okay? This is solid defensive play, which I love to see from my boy Scotty. Also, shout out Kelly Olynyk. He had a solid game. He's a solid role player. I hated on him when he was in Celtics because, I'm a perennial Celtics hater. But now he's on the Raptors. I can give him the proper love he deserves. He's a solid player.
Yeah, interesting that you blame Paolo Banchero because I actually think I'm one of Paolo Banchero's bigger haters. Mm-hmm. Don't think he's very good. But I think a big reason that he had a decimal assist to turnover ratio is that Orlando shot 25% from the field after the first quarter. Thought his teammates just absolutely choked. People were not hitting the shots, and he was giving them decent passes. I think in any reasonable world, he ends with something like 6 assists. Now, don't get me wrong, 6 assists, 5 turnovers, that's a Cade Cunningham level ratio, but I think it would be a lot more forgivable. In general, I don't think Paolo Banchero was to blame for this game. One thing I do want to mention is KCP had a great game. Shout out to him, love that. Yep. Then Wendell Carter Jr. this was a matchup that he was supposed to absolutely dominate. With Goga Bitadze out, which by the way is really important. Goga Bitadze being out is way more important than like Jalen Suggs being out or when Paolo Banchero was out.
Nah. It's Paolo Suggs then him.
Goga Bitadze is the main reason that the Orlando Magic were able to win despite losing Paolo and then Franz.
Okay,
like you have to give the credit to someone, right? A lot of people will give it to Suggs. I fundamentally disagree. I think Suggs is a mediocre point guard. I think
great defensive point guard. Great leader.
I think Goga Bitadze is a really good center. And Wendell Carter Jr. is also a really great center, but Goga's just better, so Wendell ends up being put on the bench. But this game, no Goga, so now Wendell should dominate on the paint, and he just doesn't. He fouls out. He gets into foul trouble before he's really able to take over. And so, of the starters, I think he was the biggest disappointment. He needed to step up. He needed to dominate. Anthony Black didn't do great either. Cole Anthony was surprisingly out for this game. So, Anthony Black was taking a lot more shots. He had terrible efficiency, not great passing. And, his defense was okay, but he was tired from the offense. So, I thought his defense struggled a little bit. So, in general, those are the two starters that I'm disappointed with. But overall, I don't blame the starters a ton for this game. If you look at the plus minuses and just when you watch the game, when it was starters versus starters, it was a pretty close game. Closer than you'd like if you're the Orlando Magic.
The tanking Raptors.
Yeah, but it was fine because a lot of the tanking teams can keep it close. Remember, this Toronto Raptors just beat the Boston Celtics like a week ago, right? So this isn't like a pushover team. But what really won the game for the Toronto Raptors was the bench. Look at the Toronto Raptors. They had 15 guys out there. They threw every single guy out there. And their bench was just able to destroy Orlando's bench. Queen, Houston, Tristan da Silva. These guys off the Orlando Magic bench are, in general, I don't think they're very good. But today or last night, they played extra bad. And then you look at Toronto's bench, Bruce Brown, Chris Boucher, Jamal S-Head or Sheed. I can't believe I said S-Head. Jamal Sheed.
Come on, man.
Who else, man? There were a couple other players. I can't remember all the names off the top of my head, but they went 15 deep, and they had amazing plus minuses. They were really able to build a lead and go on a run while the bench units were out there, and Orlando's bench was just looking really, really bad. So that's most of what I attribute this game to is Orlando Magic bench being terrible today and in general being not very good, and then the Toronto Raptors bench being actually quite good. Because that's a belief I've had for a while. Like last time I talked about the Raptors, I talked about how I think Boucher is good. I think Quickly is good. I think a couple of the bench players are good. I don't think their pivotal star pieces in like Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett are very good. And then Orlando Magic, I think Franz Wagner is good. I think Goga Bitadze is good. But then their bench starts falling off.
Good. Yep.
I do not think Paolo is good. But I do now. I'm not going to avoid the elephant in the room. Scotty Barnes, my boy.
Your boy. He's your boy now. He's up. Now he's your boy.
He's my boy because he gives very nice vibes. He's not my boy because I hate on him as a player. So
they didn't clarify that last time. Now you're talking about how much you like him as a player.
No, as a person.
My bad. My fault.
So 17 points. I think 11 rebounds, 8 assists. You can't hold anything against him. Good efficiency from the field, good efficiency from three, good stocks. He was by far the best starter for the Toronto Raptors. And this win, you got to credit. This is what you need to see out of Scotty Barnes if you're a Raptors fan. Like, if he puts up these kind of performances, and it's nice that he did it against a playoff level team. Like the Orlando Magic, even with all the injuries, were still a decent team. They were definitely favored to win. This is what you need to start seeing out of Scotty Barnes. I do think a big part of the win for the Raptors was RJ Barrett only taking 9 shots. Like, he went 6 of 9, which, wow, God was already smiling to even let him hit over 50%. But just having him not put up 20 dumb bricks, that's really big deal. And I think putting the bench unit in for the Toronto Raptors, one of the big benefits of that is you get to take RJ Barrett off the floor and put literally anybody else back on the floor. And I don't think it can be understated. He got like 8 rebounds. He really overperformed in the second half, getting a ton of rebounds. So I thought it was an amazing game from RJ Barrett for his standards. And I think that definitely contributed to the win because he's a typical tank commander where he shoots you out of the games. So I think that's really all I have to say about it. Definitely an upset. But for me, it's because Wendell Carter Jr. fouls out. Jonathan Isaac leaves. So now you're missing rebounding. You're missing defensive ability. Goga Bitadze's out. And I just don't worry too much about this game. Like, this game does not make me worry about the Orlando Magic's future at all. it does show you why I think Paolo Banchero is not as good as people think. But I actually think you're coming in a little too, as too much as a hater on him.
You can't help but disagree, bro.
Well, no, because you're like if you want to talk about his efficiency, you want to talk about his inability to hit all his free throws. That's cool. That stuff I've already talked about. But his passing, I actually think he's a pretty decent passer, and I would say that
he is. But 5 turnovers is a lot.
Yeah, but the Orlando Magic, if you're gonna shoot 25%, like he's going to feel desperate. He's going to feel pressured. And then his assists aren't as high as they should be. So I feel like his assists should be higher. And then I feel like his turnovers would have been a little lower if his team could hit a bucket and he didn't have to come on the floor and be like, dude, we're down 10. We're down 15. Like, what the heck? We got to get going. That pressure, you can't. I don't blame him for that. So I think you're coming in a little hard on Paolo Banchero.
I think you're coming in a little hard on the Magic bench, especially if we use variance as an argument to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. I will gladly use a variance argument for the Orlando Magic bench. I think their bench is solid. They're a well-constructed team. Last season they were a pretty high seed as well. It was all about passing by committee. It was all about winning as a team. So the bench played a huge part in that. So I'll say variance. This team, as a team, they shot 25%. That's not going to happen again. The bench will be playing better. So, I don't understand why Paolo, those turnover critiques, they're, like I said, with Franz back, it's less of a concern. But then the bench, you're being too harsh on them. It simply just is variance. And remember, role players get the variance argument. We talk about it all the time. Oh, the bench had a good game. You won the game. They had a bad game. What can you do? It is what it is. We always talk about the star. We talk about LeBron, right? A big reason people love LeBron is he raises his bench. Even when they're having a bad game, he improves them. So when I look at Paolo, when I see the potential in him to be a really good player, I want to look for things like that. So I don't think I'm being too harsh. Kyle would gladly give the role players the variance.
I'm glad you've come in on this. Paolo is not a floor raiser. He's nowhere near LeBron, and he's not very good.
Obviously nowhere near LeBron.
Just wrap it up.
No.
Wrap it up.
I think he had the potential for that, and on certain games he can be. You need to give him time to develop.
Nah, I mean he's just not that good.
He is.
Nah, he's not.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what else. I agree with you on this. Franz Wagner, that's who we're waiting for. The best player on the Orlando Magic.
No, he is the second best player.
You think Franz Wagner is the second best player?
Yes.
Bro, he was shooting 28 points a game on 62% true shooting. Your man can't even go 62% on free throws.
It's variance. First of all, Paolo's above 70% on free throw. And Paolo had a 50-burger to start the season. If his demo league didn't tear, he would be tearing up the league right now instead of his abs. Okay? So, Franz, he's a great player. I'm not going to argue that. But I think Paolo is better. I think he has a better potential. And when you look at them play, I think Paolo has a higher ceiling.
Paolo slows the offense down too much, man. That's the reason why ever since he's come back, they can't score more than 100 points. He's playing like this the 90s. You can't win with this.
But he's very effective when he plays the 90s. He gets to the rack very effectively. He draws free throws, not by being a foul merchant.
And then he misses them.
Okay, he's missing more than we would like, but he's still getting them. That's the hard part. So, players can learn to shoot free throws better, but not everyone can have the ability to be so dominant at the rim that defenses have to foul them. So that you can't teach that. So he already has the important bits. His midi game, very great. Is that the instinct? He had the ability to go out and hit you 50. He did that. He was talking about it. He was in the zone. That's Kobe type stuff. That's a level of mindset, level of ability
Kobe with Paolo
that he's able to access. Okay, Franz hasn't showed that, so I'm gonna pick Paolo.
That's Brandon Jennings he accessed. Okay, how about you?
What do you mean, Brandon Jennings?
How about you name some level of scorers at Paolo Banchero? That's Brandon Jennings. That's Jamal Crawford. That's Lou Williams.
These all bench players.
Yeah,
why are you putting Paolo up there with bench players?
Exactly.
Paolo is a 6'10", 270 power forward who can handle the ball like a guard. You comparing him to Brandon Jennings?
He can't handle the ball.
Yes, he
can't handle the ball.
Yes, he can.
No, he can't.
Watch that 50-burger back. Watch what he did.
No, he just wasn't pressured that game. He can't handle the ball.
Yes, he can.
I don't like his dribbling at all. He looks super awkward.
No.
And yeah, I'm just not a fan of his dribbling at all.
He's no PG, but he's stronger and taller than PG. So what did that tell me? Okay, you can be a little worse at dribbling. You're physically just better.
He's not there, man. He's not there.
I mean, I guess only time will tell. I think I'll bring this segment to a close. I want to go on another 3-minute break, and then we'll be previewing tonight's games. See you then.
Yes, sir. Your preview.
Alrighty, welcome back to another segment of the 50-50 show. I'm Omair. This is my brother Omar. Next, we're going to be talking about previewing tonight's games. We're first going to be talking about the Cleveland
Clavicle Cavs.
This guy can't let it rest. Anyways, the Cleveland Cavaliers going to Houston to take on the H-Town Rockets. The market has the Cavaliers favored by 1.5. Omar, what do you think about who's gonna win? What are you looking out for? Overall thoughts on tonight's game?
Yeah, so I think the market is correct. I have the Cavs winning by pretty much the same amount. I have the Rockets as slightly better, but remember the Cavs do have home court advantage.
No, Houston has home court advantage, I believe.
No, I thought the Cavs had it.
I'm almost sure Cavaliers are at Houston.
If that's true, then I have to disagree with the market. Okay, I'll trust you. I'll say that I read it wrong. If Houston has home court advantage, then I have Houston winning this game, and then I'm going to disagree with the market because rating-wise, these teams are pretty similar, and that's only because the Cavs have Evan Mobley out and Max Strus starting, so he's getting a lot of minutes. Fred VanVleet is back. He missed, I think, the last game or 2 games ago. And Cam Whitmore has been improving, by the way. That's a guy who I thought was more hype than substance, but I've really been liking what he's been doing versus teams. He's been getting more and more minutes. He's been quite efficient offensively, not as big of a cone on defense as I thought. So really liking what I'm seeing there. And in this game, I think Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet are going to be really key versus the Cavs backcourt. And then since Evan Mobley is missing, only Jarrett Allen is there to punish the interior defense that's mediocre on Houston Rockets. So if Houston has home court offense, I definitely don't agree with the market still making the Cavs favored. I would say give me Houston to win by 2 comfortably.
This is a rare time I will agree with you, only because I think the Rockets do have an advantage here with Evan Mobley being out. That is the number one key. If Evan Mobley's in, I don't care if it's in H-Town, I don't care if it's on the moon, I'm taking Cleveland. But with Mobley being out, the Cavs miss out on stretching the floor, shooting, right? Which would really help against a strong defensive team like Houston.
It's good versus Sengun.
Exactly, Sengun as well. Another thing with Mobley being out with that defense, he's a solid defender. So I worry with their ability to keep up with the Rockets defensively. Because another thing we're going to need to talk about is the Thunder came back and they played the Cavs and they whooped that trick. A big thing was the Thunder had a small ball lineup with Hart being out. The Rockets have a similar thing with their lineup. They can go small ball. I think Cavs lack that athleticism, the ability to keep up with the Thunder. Smaller, quicker players, I think Cavs will struggle to keep up. So the defense will really struggle. And with Mobley being out, it's going to only be compounded because he's a good defender. Because, for example, Jarrett Allen, I love his defense, but he's more of a defense. He's a sit-in-the-paint anchor type, not so much running in transition and keeping up with smaller guys. So if it goes down that way, I can easily see H-Town winning. So that's my thing with Evan Mobley being out. And 3, again, I like the Rockets players like D. Brooks, Amen Thompson, Jalen Green. They're all good players. Especially Amen Thompson. He's either guarding Garland or D. Mitch. Whoever he's guarding, expect him to have a rough game.
Amen Thompson, yeah. I thought you were Jamaican. I thought you were Rasta with how you were saying his name. Did you mean to say Amen? Amen? Who knows?
I share genetics with this man.
We're going to have to get tickets to a Houston game and ask him how to pronounce his name at this rate.
This man can't win any debates with me. So whenever I make a pronunciation mistake, he's on that. He's like, write that down. He's like, write that down. Omar's made a rare mistake. Rare L. Okay, with him, I never have to do it. I just got to sit back. Sit back and let him talk, and I'm chilling.
It's all about mental warfare, baby.
Yeah, sure. But I agree. Fred VanVleet being back, he's a very underrated player. Someone he's not someone who dazzles you on the stat sheet. You got to watch him to see what he's doing. So, again, I have the Rockets favored. I'm looking for a small ball lineup that the Cavaliers will struggle with keeping up. I'm looking for Amen Thompson to dominate whoever he's guarding on the defensive end. And then Jalen Green, I think he could have a good game as well. 2 things. First, Cavs don't have great perimeter defense. And 2, with Mobley out, the interior defense is weakened. So that's my outlook on the game and my evaluation.
Alrighty, so that's pretty much all there is for that game. Now let's move over to the Eastern Conference where we have the Atlanta Hawks versus the Detroit Pistons. A pretty relevant matchup. I think this is a matchup you could see in the play-ins, and I think this is a matchup that matters for seeding for anywhere between that 7th to 10th seed area. Now the market has the Hawks favored by 2.5, Omair. Trae Young most likely going to be playing, but Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu are both questionable. So what do you make of this game? Do you have those guys playing? And then in general, who do you have winning this game and why?
I have the Atlanta Hawks winning this game. I think the market's absolutely right. They should be favored. I see them winning. Trae Young is better than Cade Cunningham. I don't care what anyone said. Cade Cunningham, improvement. Love him. I was on him before this guy was. Still like Trae Young better. So that's first option. The first option, I'm taking Trae Young. I'm assuming Onyeka and Jalen Johnson are both playing. I think the market is as well. If they're both out, I don't see how the Hawks would be favored because Jalen Johnson is clearly the second option and Onyeka is a key role player. So I'm pricing them in personally, my evaluation. So we're looking at them. Like I said with Cade, I think Trae Young's better than him. Young's a better passer, better shooter, better driver. The only thing he's not better at is middies, but good thing middies are being priced out of the NBA anyways. But anyways.
They're elite.
I mean, middies are still important. That was a bit, I was being hyperbolic, but still, better finisher, better three-point shooter, better passer. I'm still taking Trae Young. It's not even close for me. Still love Cade Cunningham, obviously. I'm not a hater. And then a big thing with him, he's a high turnover guard. So if the Atlanta Hawks defense locks in on him, picks off his passes, I mean, the Pistons are going to be in huge amounts of trouble giving up that many points as Cade is prone to do. He's improved his turnover issues, but no doubt he still has those turnover demons. In terms of role players, I'm a really big fan of Dyson Daniels. He had a bunch of steals. I think the last time they played the Pistons. Just love Dyson Daniels in general. I know you're low on him, but I really like him as a defensive player. And the offensive game is improving. I was watching. It wasn't against the Pistons, but I was watching a game. He had the ball on the wing. He got kicked out, I believe, from Trae Young. And he showed that kind of poise that some role players lack, where the guy was coming on a closeout and he didn't have the open three. He hits him with a jab step, makes him back off, then shoots. Very Kawhi Leonard-esque, very fundamental. Not all role players can do it. It seems simple when I'm describing it, but then if all role players could do it, a lot of them would be borderline stars if they kept playing off closeouts and were that effective. So really liking what I'm seeing from Dyson Daniels, that improvement. Obviously a defensive stud. Trae Young is better than Cade Cunningham for the reasons I've listed. And then when you finally factor in home court advantage, you're in Atlanta, you're in the A, as Trae Young would say.
Hey.
I got Atlanta to take this W.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you made some convincing points with that one. You almost had me believe in you, but psych, we're going to take the Pistons here, boy.
Why?
Listen, I think if Onyeka and Jalen Johnson are both in, then I'm going to regret my pick a little bit. But I have a feeling one of them will be out. I don't know which one. It doesn't really matter to me. I have them relatively the same importance. So I'll take Pistons to win. In reality, I have the Hawks slightly favored. But again, if you're going to give me plus money, if you're going to say it's an upset, I'm going to take the Pistons here. I got Cade going band for band with Trae. I think they're equal first options. And, yeah, you were first to Cade, but you know what it is. It's not about finishing first or anything like that. It's about being right. So I'm just updating.
That explains a lot.
I'm just updating
that
my
viewpoint explains a lot.
Assessment of Cade. And I think he's just good now. He's straight up just good, especially for someone as young as he is. Like Trae Young being older, it's a bit of a disappointment.
A disappointment?
Cade
Eastern
Young,
Conference Final? Had the New York Knicks in a chokehold? He owned MSG. Look at the lease. For MSG, I'll pull it up.
Cool, bro.
Trae Young.
Is this
Trae
game
Young
being
on the
played
list.
at MSG? Is this game being played? No, I didn't think so.
You're disrespecting.
So
you're calling him a disappointment.
I got Cade there, and then I'm really low on Dyson Daniels and DeAndre Hunter and Vit Krejci. Dyson Daniels, very, very good on defense, at least the on-ball part of it. Yep. Don't love his off-ball defense. Don't love any of his offense. Don't love his rebounding. Don't love his passing. So if the Pistons win, it should be because those role players were outperformed by the likes of Azar Thompson, Malik Beasley, Isaiah Stewart, just some bench or role players that I'm mentioning that I think are slightly better. And because the players that I like on Atlanta, like Clint Capella, Onyeka, and Bogey, they all get lower minutes. So I'm just not super high on this team. I have Detroit as the better team. I just think it's close because Atlanta does have home court advantage and Magic City is indeed open. I do think one interesting thing about this game is going to be Cade. He is the highest turnover guard in the league. I don't know if that's statistically true, but I swear to God he is. Like,
I mean, yes, he was last year.
He had a 10 turnover game and they still won, which is crazy. But Dyson Daniels, the last time they played, he had 7 stocks, so steals plus blocks. I see no reason why he shouldn't go crazy again. Cade should have a bunch of turnovers. Dyson Daniels should have a bunch of steals. And that was one of the things you mentioned as for why Atlanta should win. But the thing is, Detroit, man, they know how to win even when Cade Cunningham has 10 turnovers. So I feel like they're really ready for that. They're resistant. And you're talking about the midi being extent. I completely disagree. I think Atlanta's really weak versus the midi. I think Cade is probably the best midi shooter in the league right now. I think he's gonna. Nate, who's a better midi shooter? Don't you dare say a fossil like DeMar DeRozan. Name a player. Name a player.
Excuse me. We have lived together for our whole life. And you have the gall to think I would call DeMar DeRozan a good midi shooter. I know who DeMar DeRozan really is.
Okay, then name one. Name one right now. Name one better than
Kevin Durant, D-Book.
D-Book is not a better midi shooter. I might give you KD, but that's because KD a freak. KD a freak.
D-Book, 45 piece. In the playoffs. No free throws. All midi.
Okay.
KD never done that.
Because he ain't made the playoffs.
Okay, but what's your response?
D-Book not that good for midi.
Yes, he is.
Nah.
He's not a great three-point
shooter.
Okay, no, you tell me how D-Book is one of the best shooting guards in the league without a three-ball without a great driving game.
D-Book has a three. D-Book has a
solid three. It's a solid three.
Yeah, Cade doesn't have a three at all.
Not phenomenal.
Cade doesn't have a three, and D-Book has KD on the floor with him.
Okay,
Cade has Tobias
KD
Harris.
hates passing.
It's not about hating passing. It's about the gravity of the defense. You get way more space when you're D-Book than when you're Cade. Everyone knows the man can't finish at the rim, and he has no good teammates.
D-Book was a midi assassin before KD ever came.
No, he just had a lot of volume. He in his second and third year did worse than Cade is doing right now. Cade is on a better.
D-Book had real bumps.
No,
Cade got vets. Cade got vets. You got Tobias
D-Book
Harris.
had teammates, bro.
I don't know.
They
were trash.
I think they had the Morris twins back then. Morris twins were aight.
Tobias Harris smokes their pack.
I mean, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, so I don't want to hear it.
D-Book, you talking about a D-Book from years ago? He ain't like that. After the whole Kardashian thing,
he's even better at middies now.
No, he's not, bro. D-Book is not
in the playoffs without free throws.
CP3 over D-Book. You should have said CP3. Both as a player, and as a midi shooter.
Midi shooter, CP3 in his prime, 100%. I'll take that.
CP3
right now, he's trash at the midi.
He's still good at midi. He's just not shooting many of them.
Bro, when he's forced, when the other team forces his hand.
Hey, yo, pause. What?
Forces his hand, and he has to shoot a midi. He misses now. No, he didn't have that killer instinct anymore. Really, remember that Nuggets game? That back-to-back Nuggets little tournament? Okay, second game on the line. Wemby's not having a great night. It's on CP3. He shoots his patent midi. I'm watching, okay? I watched this guy since I was a kid. I get excited seeing that midi, and he bricks.
Okay, that's one shot, bro. Game 1, he was hitting them of that same
series.
No,
he didn't hit Jack. He
had 16 points.
No, yeah, like 4 threes. He leads 3 and D and passing. He don't shoot middies no more.
You a hater, bro. You a hater. He was 1-of-1 on middies that game.
Bro. I'm a CP3 fan.
I've
been a CP3 fan.
Listen,
that's why it's so hard to watch his fall from grace.
Listen. Can you stop hating on my GOAT, who was with Kim K at a time we won't be talking about?
Bro, can't help but mention the Kardashian, bro. We're talking about basketball. You're talking about a different set of balls.
Okay, this man going there.
You gonna finish your point? You gonna finish your point, or are we gonna go to the next one?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish just like my GOAT CP. I got the Pistons.
What you doing with CP, bro? That's crazy.
I got the Pistons. I got the Pistons winning. If both Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu are in, I'm gonna regret this a little bit. But Atlanta's
both hedging his bets.
They haven't really ran their full lineup often. Like one guy is usually out, so I'm gonna bank on them continuing to do that again. And I just like the Pistons upset here. That's it. That's really all I gotta say.
Yeah, no, not gonna happen.
A toss up. I'll take the Mavs to upset here. And I look at Derek Lively. He's questionable. If he's in, then I'm really confident. Then I have the Mavs just straight up favored at that point. But with him being questionable, it's sort of a middle ground where it's like if he's out, I got him losing by 2. If he's in, I got him winning by 2. And since it's roughly a 50-50, I meet in the middle. I have it as a toss-up. But again, I'll take the Mavs side. And I think he will play. I think this is an important game for them. I think they want this matchup. They like this matchup. And they know this is an important matchup for seeding purposes. And so I think if he can play, he'll try to play. And just some matchup-specific stuff here. I'm looking a lot at Maxi Kleber. Jason Kidd uses him a lot versus Minnesota. And he does not use Gafford. So Gafford, definitely low on him. Just don't think he'll get a lot of minutes. And Jason Kidd has done this in 2022 in the quarterfinals. And then he did this last year in the conference finals. He gives Kleber heavy minutes as a stretch 5 to get Gobert away from the rim. Because the Minnesota defense is really good versus traditional centers. They're pretty much top 10 this season versus traditional centers.
They're trash against Derek Lively, though. When Luka's playing.
In most categories.
When Luka's playing.
They're top 10 in putbacks, post up, pick and roll man, and the rim. So in all those aspects of scoring, Minnesota is top 10 in stopping them in one way or another. So Rudy Gobert has been anchoring that defense. He's doing a great job. If you give Gafford heavy minutes, you allow Gobert to be the best player on the court, arguably, and really dominate and help Minnesota get the win. But if you get Kleber, Rudy's away from the rim, then it's like always getting played off the court, and then people will come in with all these narratives about how Gobert's bad. It's just not a good matchup.
So he's not very good.
He's not good in the stretch 5s, but there's only a couple of stretch 5s out there in the league. Most of the guys out there, he'll crush. Like he's good versus Sabonis. He's good versus John Collins. He's good versus AD.
But he's useless against Derek Lively. DPOI.
He's not useless versus Derek Lively.
DPOI.
Derek Lively caught one lob, and you're still glazing him.
Not one lob. He dominated the whole series.
Well, Derek Lively's really good. I don't know what you want me to say about that.
I mean, all because Luka Doncic was toying with him.
It has nothing to do with Luka
Doncic. It had everything to do with.
It has nothing to do with Luka
Okay,
Doncic.
let me address this right now. So Derek Lively being in, it won't really matter because he's still Gobert. I'll talk about this right now. Can I just go?
No. I wanted to get one thing off. I think Conley got a clutch up with Dante DiVincenzo gone indefinitely. Conley's back in the starting lineup. I still think he's a great player, but Minnesota needs more offense from him. Ant is not able to put up the shots and hit them like he was earlier.
He can hit shots. He needs someone to handle the ball, handling the passing.
And here's the most important thing. Kyrie is the best player in this game. Kyrie is criminally
better than Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards cannot wash Kyrie Irving's weird underwear. Okay, I haven't seen it, but I've seen how you've been dressing, them earrings. He's trying to be a little eccentric right now.
Bro, talking about a man's earrings.
I'm just saying. Anthony Edwards cannot wash that man's laundry. Kyrie Irving smokes him. Kyrie Irving is the best player in this game, and he's being disrespected, and people keep assuming this team needs Luka. They don't need Luka. They're going to beat Minnesota without Luka, and people are just going to blame Minnesota and talk about dumb regression stuff again, rather than recognizing that Kyrie Irving is a beast. He just beat OKC without Shea, but they still had Jalen Williams in them. And now he's going to beat Minnesota with their entire starting lineup. And don't be telling me Dante DiVincenzo being out is the reason they won. Because Kyrie is just that. He's just that dude.
All right, let me get into this. I can't stop myself. There's only so much I can listen to before. The allergies start kicking in, as you guys know. So I have Minnesota winning. So first of all, let's get into it. The Mavericks, without Luka Doncic, they are nothing. They are just... They're nothing better.
Is that why they're like the 4th seed, even though Luka hasn't played in 2 months?
Not 2 months.
It's been a hot minute.
It's been a hot minute. I respect what Kyrie's done, but still, the team is not dangerous without Luka. So let's look at it.
For sure,
first of all, I think you're right. I think I'm not the biggest Gobert fan. I think Gobert is actually gonna have a good game. He's gonna have a good game because Luka's not playing.
No, I disagree. He's gonna have a bad game.
Luka had that man. Okay, whatever.
Well, because of Kleber. They're going to run Kleber to make him have a bad game.
It won't matter because that is not what caused it. It's Luka Doncic absolutely putting this man in the torture chamber every time he spams the pick and roll. Without Luka, that's just not going to be happening. When you look at what was happening in that playoff series, Luka Doncic consistently beating his man. Gobert being a very vertical athlete, has to try to contain Doncic. He fails miserably. Lobs were being thrown. Derek Lively's putting his nuts in the Frenchman's face. That will not be happening tonight because Luka's not playing. Even if Derek Lively's playing, there's 2 parts to this equation. If you're missing Luka, it's not happening.
Kyrie Irving can set up Lively, no problem.
No, it's not the same.
You're right. It's better.
No,
it's better. You know why? Because my guy doesn't need free throws to be a decent offensive player.
Kyrie can't get free throws, so that's a moot point.
He's too pure of a hooper.
That's a moot point.
He dodges all the flailing around from the defender.
Well, so that's a moot
Unlike
point.
your boy who goes...
That's a moot point. So then we talk about what Minnesota needs to win. First of all, Anthony Edwards obviously better than Kyrie Irving. If you're thinking like this guy first, get checked. And 2, let me know why in the comments. Maybe you can give this guy some good material.
You get checked for an STD from all that riding, bro.
Hey, yo.
I'm just saying. I'm keeping it real.
Why? ¿Por qué?
You tell me why you so attracted to him.
Bro, I swear I cannot talk ball while this guy talking about another set of balls.
Bro.
So, I'm going to get back on topic. Anthony Edwards, just great player, great three-point shooter. I think his driving will struggle, I will say. One thing with Lively is in, the Mavericks defense is very solid, rock solid, especially in the interior. So Anthony Edwards will struggle with driving, especially as we know his struggles with double teams. I don't think that's going to change. But still, looking for a good three-point shooting night from him. He's going to need it if he's going to have impact on the game. Still think he's better than Kyrie, obviously. I do agree Conley needs to step up, especially with DDV out, because the TWolves was starting to improve with DDV as point guard. He was getting a good amount of assists. Conley back in, he's going to have to lock in. I know you talked about the start of the season, minute restrictions, and I was saving himself for the playoffs. Bro needs to chill out and lock in for this game. But I think he can do it because we don't need scoring from him per se. We need passing, all right? You need to handle the ball and pass and find open guys, find and set him up. That's kind of the stuff we're looking for. We still haven't mentioned Randall. He's a bit of an X factor where I think he's the second option. You probably have him as a third option because you think Gobert's so good because you're crazy.
You have Randall over Gobert. Oh, my God.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Anthony Edwards, Randall, Gobert. Because if Randall not having a good game, they're not going to win. They're not enough offense. I love Gobert's defense, but he's one-sided. You know how I talk about I love two-way players? Same thing goes for defensive guys. I love that your defense is good, but you can't play offense, you're useless. Look at Jared Vanderbilt. He has great defense. He can't shoot.
No, see, here's where I disagree, because if you're great on defense, you're great on defense. And then you can just not put up a bunch of shots. If you're good on offense, but you're a cone on defense, you don't get to hide.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
NBA offenses have an array of ways to hide their worst defenders.
No, NBA offenses have an array of ways of attacking the weakest. You just keep running pick and rolls until you get that man on the blender, and then it's just chicken tendies.
But yeah, you bring up a good point. Like, that's true. But what I'm saying is absolutely true. It's basically an arms race between offense and defense. Defenses get better and better at hiding the worst defenders, and offenses get better at exposing them. So at the end of the day, it comes down to a little bit of a coaching match, a little bit of the players and their ability to navigate these plays. So.
Man, Minnesota ain't doing nothing. They just put Rudy Gobert out there and be like, "Hey, can you just run the whole defense for us?" And he's like, "I got you."
That was so bad.
Hey,
bro.
I punted that.
Bro,
accent.
you're struggling.
You're
struggling. I don't know. I think maybe we should close the segment and bring the show to an end after that absolute flub. But anyways,
after you called Julius Randle the second best player on the team, I agree. Major flub.
I stand on that. Julius Randle is the second best player on Minnesota.
He's not even better than Mike Conley. He's not even better than Mike Conley. He's the fourth best player on this team. And some days it might be Naz Reid. It might be Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
I'm going to bring us back on topic because this guy's talking crazy. Again, I have Minnesota winning here. It was really going to rely on a good shooting night from Anthony Edwards, good defensive play from Rudy Gobert, and ultimately Julius Randle being the X factor that he is. I think he can make an impact on the game. And then lastly, Conley has to be playing better than how he's playing at the beginning of the season. He cannot play like a bench point guard if this team has any hope of winning.
Yeah, it sounded like Dallas is about to smoke y'all's pack. So we appreciate you giving all that analysis.
I mean, I love Dallas. I'm a Dallas fan, but for this game, without Luka, Mavs take this one.
We about to crush that ant. If you know, you know. Anyways, man, that was a pleasure recording the show. Tough start to the day. Tired. But you know we had to talk about the NBA. You know we had to preview today's games, talk about yesterday's. I had fun. We'll be back again tomorrow, 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. East Coast Time, with another episode of the 50-50 Show. My name's Omar. This is Omair. Hope y'all had fun. I know I did. Anything to say, my boy?
I had tons of fun. I agree. It was a hard start to the morning, but it ended very well. I mean, it's always great to catch a couple dubs in a debate, beating your big brother. For all you little brothers out there, this is for you. Cleveland, little bro, this is for you. Another day, another dub.